What are you doing?
Like, oh my god.
I don't even know what's going on.
Player one. Prepare yourself.
Don't forget our gift cards at RitaYanez.com, and so am I.
Turn on the light!
Hi there, Pisces. This is your weekly reading for the week of December 14th through 20th. I hope you're feeling great. I hope your week is off to a great start. I hope your holiday season is off to a great start. For most of us here in the U.S., it's almost time for winter break. So I hope that it's going to be everything you hope it to be, and it goes nice and smooth and easy for you. You need some of that rest in there, too. On Monday, the card that you've drawn is the Emperor card. So this obviously can refer to a father figure or some father-type authority. And this could be for some of you if you've been hopefully not. For those of you that are involved in the juvenile court system, for whatever reason, this is a person who could come across, if it's not your father, if it's not your father figure, your foster parent, or anybody else, then obviously it would be like your probation officer, somebody that's helping you to regain your balance and to figure out how to keep from falling into those negative patterns that not everybody falls into, but sometimes it just happens, and kids really don't need a whole lot of lecturing, right? You guys just need a lot of love, and you need a lot of direction. You need to know what to do next. And so if you do have some friends that are involved in drugs or alcohol, smoking, of any kind of substance, you probably want to figure out who these people are in your life and why they need to be there. You may love them, but they're also involved in things that could cause you a lot of problems, obviously. And so sometimes it's hard to say, but it's sometimes the best thing you can do for your friendship, for your relationship, and for each of you to say, I love you, but we either need to get strong and safe and sober together, or we need to just be apart until each of us is strong enough on our own to be able to come back together and not let anybody else train wreck us. Because sometimes it's just the people that we hang out with that could be a bad influence. And look, if it's happened to me as an adult, I can tell you that it can happen to just about anybody. So just make sure that you understand that there are situations in life that are difficult to avoid because we don't want to hurt the people involved. But we also want to make sure that we respect ourselves and protect our futures so that one day we can really be really good role models for other people, maybe your nieces and nephews. Maybe you decide to go into some form of law enforcement or counseling. Maybe you want to be a child psychologist. Maybe you want to be a forensic psychologist where you're able to go in and talk to the little cavemen and they're like, and you're like, and you know exactly where the kid's coming from. And like magic, you're able to deduce what's gone wrong or what needs to be adjusted so that these kids develop in a very safe and stable way. So just keep that in mind, because there is the element of intoxicants, of substances that could cause you to escape into that magical place of denial, which is sooner or later, you got to come back to the real world. And that's if you don't end up in the hospital having a medical issue. I've been there with my nephew, where I hope that he's done better over the last few years. I really haven't heard much about it, but he spent quite a few frightening trips in the emergency room and an ex-boyfriend of mine had to carry him like a sack of potatoes because he couldn't even stand, and he had overdosed on so many different things and monster drinks and everything else that, I thought, well, this is the night that we end up with brain damage. And look at what's happened to Lamar Odom, who has always been a wonderful athlete and really seemed to have all of these blessings on the material side of life, and where maybe he was having some mental health issues that he needed a little support with. Maybe he needed some coaching, some counseling, some love from his family. Maybe he just, didn't get it. And he's never going to be himself again. From what I understand, he can't go to the bathroom the way others do. And he can't make sense of what's happened to him. He knows something's wrong and he's very frustrated, but it seems like he isn't going to be able to comprehend what has happened. And so in one way, he's Lamar, and in another way, he's never going to be Lamar that used to be this healthy, magnificent, beautiful, intelligent, fantastic athlete. So I know that's a little bit of a heavy way to start off this reading, but I know you already checked out if you didn't peep those cards at the end. And it really doesn't mean that this is what the issue is going to be. And I'm actually more concerned about adults. Yeah, not about their substance abuse issues, but maybe just being involved in either issues where other people could be inebriated or somewhat not themselves, or they put themselves into positions that they normally wouldn't, but they're going out and acting out and saying things they can't take back, because that's also what the same delusional kind of weird energy that Neptune can bring into play. Your ruling planet is actually in Pisces at this time, but when it's activated, and especially in solar astrology, where this is more likely to happen with those of you who are Pisces rising individuals, with the adults, the issues could be that they say a whole lot of crap that they can't take back, or they really don't know what they're talking about, but then they get involved in some way, and it might as well be inebriation when nobody makes any sense, right? But for you guys, I just want you to be careful, because it could actually be coming from somebody else, that you could be guilty by association, if you will, where you're out with one of your girlfriends and you didn't even know that she was shoplifting, and then the cops pull you over in Walmart, and the undercover agents have got you, and you're like, what the hell? I don't even know what she just did. What are you talking about? And then having to get yourself out of that situation can be somewhat difficult. I've seen people throw each other under the bus when they're both equally guilty, but they'll say, no, he did it, no, she did it, and he did it. And then all of a sudden it's like, now we don't believe anybody here. So everybody's just going to be in trouble because we can't make sense of what you guys are saying. So just keep that in mind, because the emperor is somewhat of an imposing figure. And if this isn't your father or somebody coming down on you, it could be, for those of you who are male, that you could be a little bit hard on a younger sibling, or somebody like a friend who's a little more vulnerable than you are. So just kind of take it easy and see how things go. We have at the same time Venus, oops, my notes are not in order. And I'm not inebriated. I'm just tired. Okay. So I know that we've got a square here. You'd think I'd know this by heart already. The Sun in Sagittarius squaring Jupiter in Virgo, which for you is your solar 10th house of being out in the public, out obviously in the open where everybody can see you. Jupiter in Virgo being your solar 7th house, where the North Node is. And so this is where we've got some energies that could be conflicting. So it's like, who am I loyal to? Myself? Or do I go down with my friend who's in trouble now? Or likewise, do I say, look, I love you, but I can't be around you if you're smoking cigarettes, or worse, if you're doing something and, I can't condone this, and you might have to extract yourself. Or you see that somebody's like, you know what, if you abandon me, I'll tell everybody that it was you. And you're like, what the hell? So now you're an enemy? That's exactly the way it could come across. So just keep that in mind. Mercury in Capricorn sextiles Neptune in Pisces. And of course, that is your solar 11th house and your solar 1st house. And this could be where you might have to clear up your name, but it will be easy for you to do. Don't throw any additional bodies under the bus. If somebody says, hey, is so-and-so a stoner, or what is that? Say, even if you do know, okay? Say, look, I really don't know for sure. Oh, come on, you know, just say it. Just say no. If you want to know the answer to a question like that, why don't you go ask her? and get yourself out of it. And that will help you quite a lot, especially on a volatile week like this, where it just seems like there's this social interaction, this kind of opposition to somebody who you thought was your friend and maybe they're not. I've seen that before, and I'm a Pisces moon, on my descendants. So my 7th house is Pisces, and there's where my moon is. And it's like, trust me when I know what you feel. And so it could be that you really thought that this was your best friend, and she's about to throw you not only under the bus, but under the train car. And she is just going to decimate you if she can. And you're like, what the hell? At this point, I don't know you. I can't have anything to do with this. Email me when you've got it together, because I can't be a part of this, and I can't be involved in this because it could mess up a lot for all of us. And so you might have to just really reckon with that and figure out what it is. If it's somebody who's your friend, they would never put you in danger. And if they love you, they're never going to treat you like crap. Okay. And sometimes people just need to get it together before they can come to you, or vice versa, to say, I love you and I'm so sorry that I did anything to compromise you. Could you please forgive me? Can we start over? That's when you know somebody really loves you, that they're able to come up to you and say, I don't want to lose you as a friend. Please help me get past this. Together we can be cool again. We can go to college together. We can be friends forever, or until, such time that we go our separate ways and maybe come back together again when we're adults. The 8 of Cups in reverse on Tuesday gives me the idea that there is a situation that you should leave alone and that you might come back to. And it could be that you're pulled back into it. That's why I'm saying define your borders before next week even starts. So this doesn't have to be any kind of personal attack on anybody. It is just more about protecting yourself, because in the end of the day, if you get into some trouble, you get yourself in some mess, your whole family's going to be involved, and it's just going to be a nightmare. No one ever needs to go in that direction. So just solidify your idea that you will not be around people that are doing something like smoking contraband or cigarettes or drinking, or stay away from it. Stay away from it. You don't need to have that around you. Now, if you're the person who's involved in this, you need to get it together, and you need to get this out of your system, out of your life, until such time when you're older, and maybe when you've got your degrees and you're out in the world. If you decide you're going to wreck your lungs, you do that. If you're going to decide you're going to damage your liver, you do that. But then at least it will be in full conscious awareness that this is something you're choosing to do. It's not what other people made you do. And I'm not trying to spread all of this doom and gloom. It's just something that is obviously apparent, and I don't get paid for doing this. There is no reason that I do this other than to be there for you, or for, even if it's one person that I ever found out said, Rita, you know what? Nobody may have listened, but I did, and it helped me. Then my job is done, because that's what I'm here to do, is to just do my part. So the 8 of Cups in reverse could also be in a romantic context where you need to leave well enough alone. And then this is actually going to be setting up for an issue toward the end of the month with the full moon in Cancer, which is your solar 5th house of the romantic and the dating and the siblings and the relationship, which just could really coincide with family issues, or maybe you don't want to go visit the parent that you're forced to visit, and until such time that some different scenario, or you get a little older, or something comes up that is more conducive to everybody getting what they need, and or keeping everybody safe and comfortable, you may have, at this point, there may not be enough time to change it. If you're like, Mom or Dad, I don't want to go visit my other parent, because then I got to fly. I'm stuck there. I hate his girlfriend or his wife, or vice versa. And, we're just not getting along, and it is totally toxic for me. And, it may be too late to make these changes now, or maybe you're a little bit too young. And sometimes it does take a little time to be able to make sense with it, to be able to say, hey, look, Dad or Mom, I want to spend time with you, but it's not working for me. I'm very uncomfortable. I don't feel that I'm welcome. I'm sorry that I feel this way. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but I'm so uncomfortable. I can't deal with this. And maybe with a year in advance, there could be some adjustments, and maybe you need to spend time with your dad or your mom without their significant other. If that's what makes it comfortable for you to be with your other parent, then that's what needs to happen. I can't tell you what to do or tell your parents how to be, but there are plenty of resources where you can talk to people even anonymously. You can start with talking to people at school and saying, look, I don't know if I need help or if they need help, but I'm upset. What do you think the counselor's doing at the school? Most of the time, you're going to find that counselor has at least a bachelor's level, if not a master's level degree in child counseling or working with students in this way. Obviously, they didn't take that job because they hate kids. They took that job because they care about kids. They care about you. So, this could be somebody that you get to vent with, to be there to talk about it. Because if you're upset academically, you're going to suffer. If you're feeling at risk that you're going to check out on some stupid jacked up drug, then of course we need to get you some help to talk to somebody so that you can really figure out what's going on. It could be low self-esteem. It could be a bad home life. It could be that you're confused. Maybe you're getting pressure from a girlfriend or boyfriend. Could be so many things. But if you can't find somebody to talk to who is safe and sane, I'm not talking some weird pedophile weirdo, on the internet that you don't even know. I'm talking about talking to people who are safe and can be held accountable, and you know who they are, and you can go in there and maybe you even say, hey, look, I want my girlfriend with me because I just am afraid to be alone just until I get comfortable, and they'll probably allow that. Excuse me. If a child says they're uncomfortable, let me tell you, that's the moment that you listen to them because they're probably telling you the truth. So with that said, if there's a situation that you need to back away from, try to put some space between yourself and contentious and otherwise challenging situations, or any situation or environment that makes you vulnerable, either by association or because you're just that uncomfortable, and you are going to be fine. And again, talk to somebody at school. Try to start with a counselor. If you're like, Rita, you don't understand, my life sucks. I am homeschooled. I have never been around any other human life forms. I am so screwed. You might be able to contact your local school via the internet and say, hey, I'm a homeschooled individual and I need to know what kind of resources are available for people like me. I need to talk to somebody. And they're not going to go and mess up your life. In fact, they don't want to make it unstable, because they know, like, the crazy people that are actually locking their children in places and doing crazy things to them and, taking away their communication to the world. They know that the people could do this. So they're totally aware that they want to just make sure that this child has access to other services. So I'm not trying to tell you to incite a complete riot in your home, but if you're having such difficulty, I would much rather know that you talk to a professional at school or some professional, even if it's law enforcement, before you subject yourself to drugs or drink or any other substances that could hurt you, or you hurting your body, or worse, running away and ending up dead, and we got to, scoop you off of the side of a ditch because that's where you ended up. So I'm not trying to upset you. I want to make sure that you understand that there are alternatives. And if somebody's pressuring you, or you feel like you can't get away from this situation, or you're frightened of somebody, then you need to go and get some help. And even if you have to a couple times say, because it's happened before, right? Where you have to say, look, you don't understand. I need to talk to somebody. I know that's my right. I was either born in this country or brought here, and I am protected because I'm within these borders and I need help. So stand up for yourself. And you may not be able to change the world, and you might not even be able to change your friends, and you certainly can't swap out your family. But you can grow up to be the kind of person you've always wanted to be, and maybe even be that little lighthouse, that beacon of light, that ray of hope for another person one day. And you sure as hell can't figure out how to do it if you can't get help yourself. And you may even say, Rita, you know what? I'm going to send you an invitation to my commencement ceremony. I am going to be a PhD level psychologist. I'm going to work with people that don't know how to articulate their feelings or how to make sense of what's happening to them. And I'll be like, shoot, I'll show up if you tell me. I'll fly to where you are if you send me an announcement like that. On Wednesday, we've got the wands, the 5 of wands in reverse. And this is a card that indicates that there is something of a struggle that can be ameliorated now. And what that means is de-escalated or reduced. So I suggest that you not become confrontational, because the issue is, again, we're dealing with the opposition of Mars in Libra, your solar 8th house, and Uranus in Aries, your solar 2nd. So there could be some very explosive conversations or confrontations as they relate to, yeah, this is my family, or this is what you call it, but what about me? Where do I factor in? Where is my opinion heard? Where do I get to say how I feel? Where is my autonomy? And even if I am a child and subject to the rules of my home and the laws of the state and, the other rules and regulations that are in place to protect people from me and me from them, you might have some issues where you suddenly become very inflamed or irritated. So try to ameliorate that. And if you see that somebody else is like going nuts, it might not be the time to engage them or to even do anything other than just to remain calm, de-escalate it by not adding to it, which is equivalent to adding fuel to the fire. Don't do that. So even if somebody at home or somebody else just really pisses you off, control yourself, because it's only going to make matters worse, and they could be mitigated quite easily. You know, maybe you've got a favorite aunt or uncle, somebody in your life who is safe and won't do weird things to you, that you can talk to about these issues. And if they have your trust and you're able to say, look, I don't want you to talk about this with my parents because I need somebody to talk to, because if not, I'm going to blow and I need to talk to somebody at school. You know, if you could say, look, I won't talk to you unless you guarantee me that you will not break my trust and that you will not tell my parents that I need to vent about this, unless, you know, obviously, if you're going to tell them something that's exceedingly dangerous to you or anyone else, you're pretty much going to have to understand that they need to try to do what they're going to do in order to protect you. But remember also that just because adults, we sometimes appear to be sheepish, not all of us may be as up to date on how to raise children or how to work with our own children, but there's plenty of people that have got some good solid common sense, and they don't have to have a degree to be able to do this. They're able to hear you and, you know, talk to somebody who's obviously a good parent, a successful parent with kids that are normal and everything's okay. If you talk to somebody that's never been stable in their own life, how do you think they're going to help you? It isn't going to happen. So just keep sure that you are not adding to any difficult situations. De-escalate, get out of the way. Get yourself out of the situation if it becomes just basically too hot to handle. On Thursday, we've got the Three of Cups, which is good. And at the same time, I'm kind of like, what is that all about? So it looks like there could be some stability here. And maybe this is really you coming together with your friends and that you're able to say, hey, look, I think, you know, we've got some challenging times. We're going to have a Cancer moon, you know, a full moon in Cancer at the end of the month. And maybe some of you get together to study some of this astronomy and to know where these objects are at and how they relate to you and what could it all possibly mean. And maybe this is a good distraction for you. Please don't take the card at face value and think that this is all about drinking and toasting. I'd rather have you tell me that you're drinking distilled water and you're doing this to help decalcify your pineal gland. And I'll say, well, that's a good thing. Go ahead and do that. But just make sure that you know who your friends are, and that you're feeling safe in their company, and that you're not with anybody who's like, for example, got a boyfriend who smokes pot and he's going to, you know, look, you could end up stinking like the crap. And then again, guilty by association, picked up by the drug dog, and everybody's busted. And you know what? If you've ever seen a parent pissed off, you don't want to see them pissed off when they got to come pick up their kid and you've got to explain yourself. Now, most parents are going to listen to you and they know their kids well enough to know that they are or aren't involved, and a simple drug test would be enough, right? But this is just the way that this situation could get a little out of control. Although I'm not completely concerned with this. If you're within your own safety net, you should be fine. Venus and Scorpio here will sextile Pluto and Capricorn. Again, this is where you've got some issues that I just want to make sure that they don't become legal issues, that you don't get involved in the legal system or anything such as this. You should be focusing on things like, you know, what do I need to do to raise my GPA so that I can apply for college this year? You know, maybe you're already taking your ACT tests. My son did today, and I was exhausted. I only got like 2 hours of sleep because I was working, and then I had to take him, and then I came home and promptly figured out that I needed a nap. And so, you know, maybe those are the things that you need to focus on, because higher learning, higher education, spiritual pursuits, it doesn't have to be about religion and rules and walls and division between people. This is about the real deal, about the real thing that we are together as a human race. And that would be a much better option for you, because it seems like you will have an easier time understanding these concepts. And maybe you're just studying astronomy and you want to go down to the local college to sit in the telescope room and, you know, do something cool like that. That would actually be a really great way for you to manifest this same energy without stimulating that Aries and Libra opposition between Uranus and Mars. So again, this is kind of goes without saying that you just need to be very aware of your environment. If you are supposed to be picked up by Uncle Joe and Uncle Joe is drunk or even smells like beer, say, you know what, I love you, dude, but you smell like alcohol and I'm not going to die today. So, you know, it's going to have to be a lightning bolt, but it isn't with you. And if you get in trouble for this, look, if you smell alcohol on somebody, how smart is it to get in the vehicle with them? You know, you're writing your own suicide note, or worse, you could end up alive and in a paralyzed or vegetative state, wondering if you wouldn't rather have gone home to Jesus or something. So make good choices. choices and remember that not everybody is thinking, or, those pistons are not firing. Not all cylinders are firing here. You could have an issue where somebody is just not exactly what they seem to be, and it might not be through a fault of their own. Maybe they need some help. But again, you don't place yourself in danger. If at all possible, you say, look, I would rather just wait here until somebody picks me up, or, I'm going to call law enforcement to see if there's a dial-a-ride thing, or, maybe they'll take me home or something because I can't. And then just be aware of your environment at all times. Here on Friday, we've got the Fool in reverse, so that's kind of weird, I know. I'm looking at this going 5 of Wands in reverse, then 3 of Cups, everything's great. Then it's like, what? Something isn't as it seems. And it looks like on Friday, again, this could kind of come up as a recurrent theme. But again, I think that since we have time to kind of prepare ourselves to make sure we make good choices, that we're not drinking and driving, or we're not driving on a suspended license, or that we're not driving without adequate insurance, or that we're not doing something we're not supposed to do. And then we have to just make these considerations about every other person. And you're like, that's too much, Rita. I'm going to tell you something that as adults, even as parents, we're thinking this way 24/7. It just never stops. I have never met a mother. Well, okay, so I do know of one mother. 2. But I've never met a mother that wasn't able to take care of everything and handle it, being a single mom, getting their kids through school, having them be successful, going through college. Look, I've got one who's going back to college, one who's starting college next year, and then the other one that's a thespian, and he's going to start college before I blink. And so I'm kind of stressed out, but at the same time, it's what I'm dedicated to, and this is the same kind of dedication that you deserve. And that's what counselors at school, and that's what other people that are in positions to help you figure out what you like doing, what you don't like, what you think you need, how to improve your grades, what it is that you need. There's plenty of people in the world that are going to help you, but at the same time, there are also wolves in sheep's clothing, and that's what you gotta, if I can do it, anybody can do it. That you can figure out over time who's your friend, who's your frenemy, and who's your outright freaking nightmare on Elm Street that you got to get away from. So the Fool card here is talking about the idea that maybe you're starting off on the wrong foot, or that you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, that you got to make sure that you are not being foolish, quite literally, in your choice of company or in your choices or the car you get into. If you're like, dude, there's something so wrong here. I heard you guys saying that she's got a suspended driver's license. I'm in the vehicle, and she smells like she's been on something. That's where you got to be able to say, pull over, I've got diarrhea. No, seriously, I'm going to throw up in your car. Let me tell you, they will pull over so fast, and you will just get out and then go do what you need to do. If you have a cell phone, good. If you don't, go to a fast food restaurant, go somewhere safe, get some help, call 911, tell the cops that you're stranded and that you did the right thing and you got out of the vehicle by faking diarrhea. And look, you might have saved your own life, and maybe those people can get saved as well. On Saturday, we have the 9 of Swords, and this is where I get kind of like, oh man, but this is where you're kind of suffering over some recent situation. It could be that you were the one that said, I can't be with you. If you're going to shoplift, I can't be with you. You don't understand. I can't be with you. And then you have to walk out of that store and call for help, and then thereby somebody else gets found out because you have to tell the truth. And, I'm sorry, but, sometimes you have to understand that if there is somebody who loves you and they're willing to put you at risk, then they've got some issues that need to be worked out, and you're probably not the one to do it. You might be the impetus behind what starts them to get rehabilitated. There's lots of kids that have done crazy things. I think we've all done at least one weird thing, but at the end of the day, we have to make sense of what we know is right and wrong. And I think that you guys more than ever are more aware than people like me were. I was in high school from 1982 to 86. Do the math. I was a little girl, and we were very, very naive, and I was working in the entertainment industry. I did have my mother and my eldest brother with me the majority of the time, but not always. And now I think back at how many times I was on location or involved in something that was, I really don't even want to talk about it because it was that upsetting. And I thought, really, honestly, things could have gotten really, really bad, ugly, or worse. I could have been killed. I was up in PD one time without even knowing where the hell I was with somebody that I didn't trust. And I thought to myself, how did my mom, I don't know how she didn't know this was happening. Trust me, I thought she was so naive that she could trust this person. And you could look at some of these photographs. In fact, I'm so traumatized, it's hard for me to even post them because I look miserable because I knew I wasn't safe and I didn't know how the hell I was going to get home. I probably should have kicked him in the nuts and said, take me home now, or I start screaming and running in every which way, or I'll kill you if you touch me. That's really how bad it was. So if there's a situation like this, that somebody's situation is kind of exposed to, by way of something that you needed to do to protect yourself and perhaps even protect that other person, so be it. It will pass, I promise you. This is more of like a transient kind of stress that comes with it. Maybe there's something that's on your conscience that you really need to get out. Again, talking to somebody about it that you know and trust, that isn't going to post it all over Facebook. That isn't going to get you in more trouble than you could already be. You might need to really talk to your counselor and look him or her in the face and say, can I trust you? Like if I tell you things that if you call my parents, they will probably end me tonight. Can you hear me? They are mandated reporters like most states, most people are. You're a mandated reporter too, most likely. And if you see something happening to another child and you don't do something about it, you could be held accountable to some degree, believe it or not. And so you might need to talk to somebody because you may be feeling pretty stressed out. And I think that this Venus in Scorpio, which is quincunx to Uranus and Aries, could really bring up something from the surface that maybe you're not ready to be exposed, but, it might be out there by the time this is said and done. I say that sometimes it just has to come out. It just has to come out so that we can deal with it and look at it and say, you see, yes, I am not proud of this moment. There's something here that's really upsetting me. I need some help. I don't know how to get it. Can you help me? Can you show me what I need to do? But I need to not talk to you until I know that you're not going to throw me under the bus and get me killed. I might not show up tomorrow. Then how would you feel? If it's that serious, you may have to tell a counselor, like, you understand that if I go home and this gets found out because you call them before we figure out what we're doing, that I could get physically hurt. Look at how we've got some weird ass cultures that think that, honor killings are a good thing. And there might have been people that were aware of this, but they were terrified to say anything. I say, pick up the damn phone and say, I need you to go string up these people. We need to get this little girl out of there because her family's completely crazy and she's not safe. And we don't do that in the USA, right? Right. We don't play that shit because if somebody's in danger, we're going to all jump on top of them. I don't care what happens. I'll kick a man. I don't care. Here on Sunday, we've got the Tower card, and this is a card that indicates that, see, there is a pattern. And I'm trying to figure out why it is that it becomes so volatile, but it just looks to me over and over like there's a group of people, and there could be one person, but it's either going to be one or the other, that it is a thing that involves a group of people, whether they're your friends or not anymore or something, or it is one person who becomes, you thought that was your friend and they are oppositional to you. Now, some of you that have already had this history of having problems or, scrapes with the law and that kind of thing, then you need to be double careful because, of course, you could end up back in the clink. And it could be because of somebody else's stupidity. And you're like, I had no clue this person had like a joint on them. Dude, look, I do say things like this. Hook me up to a lie detector. Hook me up. Drug test me. I didn't do anything. And I'm going to sit here and say it over and over until somebody hears me. Hook me up to a lie detector. And if they say, well, it isn't admissible in court, say, yes, it is. Look, under some circumstances, even just letting the judge know that you were willing to take a lie detector, law enforcement notices this too, or you're willing to be drug tested left, right, and on your birthday and theirs, then they're usually going to say, hey, look, this person's probably telling the truth because here they are just begging for it. Bring me the cup. I will pee here for all of you to test me. But I think that overall, this kind of instability is bothering me because I think it has something to do with the friends. It could be, and I guess I do have to say this, that it could be regarding your visitation with one parent or another, or where you are versus where your parents are, that there either could be a separation or it could be coming together, and either way there is some kind of energy that seems to block and then blow up. So what you're trying to do is ameliorate the situation before it happens, or at least de-escalate it if at all you can help it. Now, if you're in a situation and you're like, Rita, you don't get it because my parents are going to go to blows, they hate each other and da-da-da. Well, then you need to make sure that you're safe. And if you do have access to a cell phone or a landline, that you are ready to get some help if it's going to get out of control. I will tell you that I had to call the cops on my stepdad multiple times. But when I was a kid, the most important one I felt was when I was about 15 years old, and my stepdad, frickin' Jack Daniels, drunkaholic at the time, and he pushed my mother, and I saw it. And she fell against the fireplace, and my mom's just a little tiny 98-pound thing, okay? She couldn't have been more than like 105 pounds maybe at the time, soaking wet. And my stepdad was this big, fat New Mexican type. And he pushed her, and I'm like, that's it. So I went right back into my room. I called 911. And then, like, his whole freaking stupid dynasty of stupid people were pissed at me. And I'm like, I don't care what you think. My mom broke her toe, and it could have been her head, okay? So I don't care what anybody thinks. And I don't care for all time if he hated me, because I needed to make sure that my mom didn't get hurt. She never was mad at me for it. I think she didn't want to talk about it, but she wasn't mad at me. She understood. Now, you know, this was a really horrific situation. This time of my life was so bad that, you know, I was lucky because my parents divorced when I was 11, and it was a good thing. And the only bad thing that ever came of it was my stepdad, because my dad was fine. He always stayed within literally half a city block, and he never was any farther away from us. And when I moved inland, my dad was there pretty quickly thereafter. And then my mother, they always stayed very close. It wasn't like choose who you want to live with, nobody playing games. In our culture, the kids are, you know, generally always with the mother, and dad just stays very, very close. And we've had tons of divorces in our families, and everybody's showing up at family reunions, and there was only one particular family, and they just all sucked. But, you know, of course they were part of the problem, but they weren't actually my blood relatives. Everybody else was getting along, including my first husband's family, speaking Vietnamese and cooking food. And my mom's side of the family, divorced members there, all getting along. My dad's side of the family, I had just multiple. It was a huge party at my house, and it was wonderful. You know, in the end, at the end of the day, I realized, wow, there's just something to say about these people who won't integrate, right? And so we hope that people are able to get through their family dynamics. But there is, I gotta say, the element here that there could be some discord if you are a child of a divorce and the parents are, you know, unable to just get kosher on things, and if they're having a hard time working together, and you could actually be feeling kind of the stress in that way. So it isn't so much that something terrible could happen to you directly, but it could be that with the 9 of Swords that you are suffering this kind of situation that, you know, like if you're in one of these family homes where the parents are just not able to get along, and you're like, please, won't these people just get a divorce and get it over with so that we can have a quiet night for once? And maybe that's what they're in the throes of, and maybe it really does need to happen. And especially with that Mars and Libra, we could have people that are just really explosive, and they finally realize, yeah, we can't be together. And then in polite company, they're like, well, of course, let us divorce, shall we? And they're able to do this with dignity and grace. And then there's always got to be like the one ghetto redneck situation. I had one similar to that, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm either super amazing or people are sucking super hard tonight because I just want out, you know, and to make things go better for us as a family, and it's not going to happen with us together. So keep that in mind. The destruction could have nothing to do with you personally, but again, remember some of the points that I'm giving you. People with substance abuse issues, people who smoke near you, do dope near you, drink alcohol, whatever the hell, you know, you need to stay away from it because it could actually infiltrate a part of your life. And explaining it after the fact is, you know, not always easy to do, especially if you already have a scrape with the legal system. It starts to really become concerning, but always tell the truth. Just say it, state your truth, even if people don't want to hear it. But this is not the week that I would just like take the truth like a big cow pie and throw it at somebody, because it's just going to be dirty and stinky and smelly and messy. Other than that, I think things will calm down for you week after next. Once we get past this quarter moon this Friday, which is kind of sensitive to you because it is in Pisces. And then when we get to that full moon in Cancer, I think you will begin to see what I'm talking about, that even amidst the tumultuous sea, there can be peace. You first have to be the peace, find the center, understand that this too shall pass. And as long as you don't get involved in anything that's going to bring you trouble, everybody's going to be fine. I promise you, sooner or later, things go your way. And look, the magic number is 18, and the magic answer in the 8-ball is college, right? When you go to college, you're going to be just fine. You'll see.
Game